Public Affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.
Is your vote safe? What is being done to secure the ballot? And Dracula is looking for a few good bites in the cities. Voting early has been a convenient alternative for busy people and those trying to avoid long lines, but it's also a challenge to protect the integrity of the vote. In Illinois, county clerks and in Iowa, county auditors have been under federal and state mandates to make sure every vote is legit and that every vote counts. And joining us is Scott County Auditor Roxana Moritz and Rock Island County Clerk Karen Kinney. Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it. Let me start with Scott County. I mean, Iowa is seeing some changes that are being enacted in phases right now. It's all to make sure that people are voting legally.
Well, the Secretary of State in 2017 rolled out what we call the SOFT program. So he asked us to ask for ID in 17. Some of us chose not to. This year it's mandatory that we ask for ID, but not required. Someone going into the polls this year does not have to have an ID. They can do one of three things. They can do an affidavit, an oath of identification. They can always do a provisional, or they can take an attester with them that just says, yes, I know this person, they live in my precinct, and I can vouch for them. So anyone going into the polls this year should not be walking out unless they voted. Next year it'll be a mandatory ID.
It might be good just to have an ID just to get used to doing it, right?
Well, and 75% of the people probably show an ID already.
Karen, tell me about Rock Island County. I mean, what changes can voters expect in the Illinois counties?
Well, we have updated our security system. We've installed some cameras. We've added some locks and improved our software, so it's hack-proof, I guess, so it can't easily be hacked into. One thing good about Rock Island County is we're in a very good position. Our voters are in a very good position because we're not connected to the internet. And there's also a paper trail of every vote cast.
Well, let me talk about that because I believe Scott County is the same thing with a paper trail. Since 2000, since the hanging Chad, since the election between Gore and Bush, there's been such a focus on not only the vote, but how people vote, because for a longest period of time, we were expecting to go more computerized, more internet-based. How important do you think it is to have a paper ballot, some kind of a paper trail, so to speak?
Well, both machines are equipped with a paper trail. So whether you choose the touchscreen or you opt for the paper ballot, both machines have a paper trail. So.
And do you think that's important?
Yeah, I do. I do. Should something happen, I don't know what it would be. Maybe system goes down, or we would lose some information or something. The power goes out. We would still have that paper trail.
Roxana Moritz, I'd ask you the same question.
I'm definitely a paper ballot. I just bought new equipment last year, and we have the opportunity to modem in, but I've told them as long as I'm the auditor, I'm not going to flip that switch, because that's just one more worry that we have to worry about, modeming in, someone coming in. Ours are all paper. We don't use any touch screen other than our express vote, which is for the handicapped and disabled. I think it's important. I think people really need to know that they have something that they can look at when we have a recount. It's easy to recount. But other than just their paper ballot, they have to realize they're signing an eligibility slip. There's a zero tape that comes out at the end of the night. Our equipment takes a picture of every ballot that goes through the machine. And the e-poll book that checks them in when they come in, it also logs every ballot that's given out. So there's a lot of methodology in being able to do a recount, or if someone questioned the election.
How important is it, as Karen said, not to be connected to a larger being, so to speak? I mean, not to be a part of the internet where it could be interconnected and then you get hackers and you get whatnot.
Well, you know, some of the larger counties in Iowa, they do modem in their numbers at the end of the night, and that's the advantage of being connected to the internet. And I think they have to just gauge whether they want to risk that opportunity of being hacked or not. Scott County, we use the Sheriff's Department. They go pick up everything physically at the location. It takes us a little bit longer to get your news stations the numbers.
We know.
But we love having the opportunity to pick it up physically and not having to modem in. And then we can usually deliver once everything starts coming about a minute per precinct. And we have 63 precincts.
Now, one of the first, on election night, one of the first things that you start doing is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you count the absentee ballots. You count the early ballots that come in. That always seem to be the first results that come in. Tell me a little bit about the process that if you do get a mail ballot, if you do get an absentee ballot, and you do bring it in, what prevents you from also voting election day? How do you catch the person from voting twice?
Well, when you come in and you fill out the application to vote, the election judges, 2, 1 Democrat, 1 Republican.
On election day?
Well, yes, will type in your name on the poll book. And they will see if you have been given or been sent an vote by mail ballot. It will be highlighted in burgundy.
So it's just a very simple system.
So it stands out very clearly. Yes.
And is the same for Scott County and for Iowa?
Well, I think you asked if they brought it into the, that day.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, absolutely. So they'll call our office and verify whether it's been given or not. We'll cancel whatever ballots been given out already, because we'll have people that want to come on election day that got an absentee request, maybe they lost it and still want to vote, right? So maybe they're not looking to do it twice, but they've lost it. So we'll have to go into the system and we'll have to discount the one that's already been sent out to them and give them a fresh one. So there's a great system in place in both of our states to allow for that to happen.
So I would also like to say that the election judges then would say, sir, you have an absentee ballot in your possession. Have you received it? And oftentimes they'll say, yes, it's at home. And they'll say, would you please go home and get it if you'd like to vote in person? That's your alternative. And oftentimes they do go home and surrender their absentee ballot, come back and surrender.
What also prevents a person from going to one ward precinct to another to another? Not that this happens all the time. I'm just curious, what prevents you from being able to do that if you say, oh, I moved, or you know?
It would show up in the system.
And so
we track every voter.
So I'm not saying it's foolproof, but it's pretty close to make sure that the vote, only one vote per person.
Voting is not a perfect process, but it's pretty darn close.
Is that a big concern that at least voters have expressed to you? I mean, when you're talking to people and they're all saying, oh, I don't trust the vote, and you've heard it's been politicized to a great extent. I mean, is that one of those questions that you hear often, is that people are afraid that other people are overvoting?
I hear it all the time. I'm doing the Auditor on the Road show, and I'm going out to nursing homes and high rises, and that's the first thing they're concerned about. And we do see a lot of play nationally about the Russians hacking into us. With the recent indictments, we know that the Russians looked at one county in Iowa. So I think people are concerned that that opportunity is out there. They come into a polling location and they see a laptop and they automatically assume we're hooked up into the internet. But like Karen said, we have the system already downloaded, we do, at 5 o'clock the Monday before elections, and it comes from the Secretary of State. If you don't belong in that precinct, it'll spit something out that says you don't belong here. And can someone vote that shouldn't be voting? Maybe, but 99.9% of the time we're going to catch it.
Is that a real question, though, even for you, is that you hear about the confidence of the vote, that people are losing confidence of the voting system?
All the time. All the time. And I think the media has added to that hysteria, I'm going to call it, by what's going on across the country. But I can't speak for the rest of the country, but I can speak for Rock Island County, and your vote is safe in Rock Island County.
Let's also talk about one thing, and that not only the vote, but the vote count. Because on the night of election night, people announce the results, but the one thing that people may not know is that it's always called the unofficial results.
Yes, they're unofficial.
And there's a reason why. What happens after election night as far as the county clerk's office is concerned?
The votes are counted. They're unofficial totals because they have 2 weeks to challenge those totals should there be any close races. And we're also held accountable by the Illinois State Board of Elections that we test 5% of the precincts, and they'll tell us which precincts. We never know that we test those totals and send the results to them. So there's many processes in place to make sure that everything's done right and that the votes are counted properly.
And to be honest, we only really hear about the canvassing of the votes in very close elections, but it is throughout the whole system, is it not?
Right, and the other important thing is to remember that we still have ballots coming in the mail. So as long as they're postmarked correctly, or we could have UOCAVA overseas votes coming in, mail order ballots coming in. And we just started this year under the House File 516 with the Iowa Integrity Act, Voting Act, that we're going to actually do a post-audit election. So in Iowa, we've never done that before. And I think that's a great opportunity for the citizens to see that our equipment really works. Secretary of State will randomly pick one precinct in every county, and they'll count the vote. And so they can see that their vote really does count.
How would that process work then?
The day after election, the Secretary of State will pick out one precinct in every county.
Randomly?
Randomly. We will bring in a new board, not the people that worked that precinct then, and they will hand count that precinct.
It used to be a big deal to show up on election day. You were proud to stand in line and to cast your ballot. It used to be the voting machine with the curtain and you pulled little levers all over the place. Times have changed though. Early voting has really been popular. What have you seen in Rock Island County leading up to this election, and what are you seeing in this election when it comes to the early voting popularity?
Well, as I said, on September 27th, we had a line outside because there was somewhat of an unofficial contest to see who could be the first voter, and I had a friend that was the second voter, but I assured him that he was still first in my book.
There you go, nicely done.
Because of his effort that he put forth in that. I'm not sure how long he stood out there, probably an hour before our doors opened.
Early enough, right?
Yeah.
But early voting, has it picked up?
Yes, we're on the upward trend right now. We've seen an increase in early voting. We're up by about 15%. We compared the numbers today to the numbers in 2014, which would have been a comparable race, and we're up by 15%. And we're hoping that spiral continues.
Scott County
on the upward swing.
Scott County not seeing that though.
I'm exact opposite. 4 years ago, same day as today, we saw 17,900 ballots. Today, we're sitting at just 50%. We got 7,900 ballots.
You do have a theory on that.
I'm sorry. Request. Yeah, I think the process of the campaigns have changed, where they were out soliciting applications for early ballots early into the summer, recognizing that people would forget that they had signed something and then get their ballot, forget to mail it in, not want to mail it in. So I think they consciously made a decision to wait a little bit longer. So I'm hoping that next week our satellite places open up and that people will show up at the libraries and or at Ambrose, and that our numbers will pick up. Since I've been in office, every year early voting has picked up. In the presidential election, we saw 49% of the people vote early, 49,000 ballots.
And that's pretty amazing. And let's talk about that, because starting next week, Scott County is really ramping up the availability of places to vote.
Right, we have our satellites that'll open the 15th. They go till November 3rd. That's Scott County Library, that's Bettendorf Library, Eastern Library, Fairmont Library, and then also Ambrose. So they'll all be open. The dates and the times are on our website, and or you can go to our new app, which is Where You Vote, and it'll tell you how to get there, what their hours are, what their days are. Makes it very easy for someone that has a smartphone.
Well, and Karen, how does Rock Island County ramp up to make it easier to vote from now until Election Day?
Well, I'm pleased to say that on the 22nd, we're also going to open our 4 early vote centers, which have proved to be very successful in helping us increase our voter turnout. And the voters have, they show up, so I guess that they approve of the early vote centers. The Moline Public Library is a very popular vote center. If you go there, expect to stand in line for maybe up to 30-40 minutes.
And that's what I would ask you also about Election Day. If people do want to vote Election Day, and obviously nothing wrong with that, come prepared, because you might have to wait quite a while, right?
Well, I hear people discussing voting on Election Day, and some of them are committed to that, because they say, well, I say, why do you vote on Election Day? It would be much easier to come into the county clerk's office, because it takes all of 3 minutes. They said, because I like going to my polling place,
Sure.
and I want to visit with my neighbors when I'm there. And I understand that. It's somewhat of a community event, Election Day.
Yeah, citizenship is
Yeah,
what it is, let's
yeah,
be honest.
yeah.
Well, and Roxana, I mean, with the changes in Iowa law that are coming more so, of course, in the future
Right.
elections, what are you suggesting for people come Election Day?
Well, they should. You know, if they want to bring their ID, they're welcome to. Like I said, no ID required. But they should be prepared that we're going to ask to see their ID, and they have the right to say no. They choose not to, but they should come prepared knowing we're going to do that. And Election Day, I just always say, you know, the worst times to go are at 7 and 5, right? When people are
Right at the
going to
beginning.
work or when they're coming home. So if you can go on those off times, that's always a better time to show up. And if you've made your mind up and you want to vote early, our sites are open for 3 weeks. Go to the early voting sites.
Scott County Auditor Roxana Moritz, Rock Island County Clerk Karen Kinney, thank you both for joining us. Once again, go to both of the county websites to find out far more about not only where you can vote, but how you can learn more about vote, and you can even pick these up at the closest location. Thank you so much.
you.
Good luck Election Day. It is an awful lot of work. In a moment, Ballet Quad Cities gets caught up in the season by bringing a vampire back to life. It's just one of the great events Laura Adams actually wants to tell you about if you do plan to go out and about.
This is Out and About for October 8th through 14th. Hi, I'm Laura Adams. The Figge Art Museum presents French Moderns, Monet to Matisse through January 6th. The Cambridge Methodist Church present their 29th annual Fall Bazaar October 13th, while the beautiful historic Hauberg Estate has a secret. It's haunted. Join the fun October 12th and 13th with food and hauntings. It's time for family fun at the LeClaire Lions Club Applefest on the River October 14th, while the German American Heritage Center's 7th annual Cheers and Beers Homebrew Tasting takes place on the 13th. Quad City Arts present American Craft Week October 6th through 14th with demonstrations every day. Plus, the second Sunday Summer Concert Series at Pearl City Station and Muscatine present the River City Six. The Spotlight Theater present The Hunchback of Notre Dame the musical through the 14th, while the Bruner Theater at Augustana presents Arthur Miller's The Crucible through the 21st. For kids, Davenport Junior Theater's production of Charlotte's Web is on the stage through the 21st. Circa 21 presents Danielle Colby's Halloween Burlesque Show on the main stage October 11th, and next door, Bottoms Up Burlesque performs at the Speakeasy October 13th. At the Black Box Theater, the infamous 1938 broadcast that frightened a nation as they present War of the Worlds, a radio play. Plus, there's still time to catch Prenzy Players' production of Henry VIII, All Is True through the 13th at the QC Theater Workshop Space. For more information, visit wqpt.org.
Thank you, Laura. It's got all the elements you could ever want. A handsome count, women swept up in the moment, and the need for a little blood here and there. Dracula is back, and so is Domingo Rubio, and joining us is Ballet Quad City Chief Executive Officer Jody Cook and Domingo Rubio. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
No, pleasure.
What is it about Dracula? I mean, you get to be a bad guy, but everyone loves you, man.
Well, everybody wants to be the evil guy.
Sure.
I mean, the nice guy is always boring. I mean,
I live that life, I know.
I know.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, well, in general, I mean, it's a fun ballet, after all. I mean, it's not just about it being evil or being, aggressive, but I was saying before that it's very cathartic. It's a ballet that you get to be kind of like a 2-year-old in tantrums. Now you can get to be sweet, alluring, aggressive, or you can be completely mad, and people love that about that, because passion and all those emotions are part of life. So it's not just the pretty, oh, nice music, oh, I'm falling asleep.
Right.
No, I don't want to talk about Nutcracker.
But Dracula, it almost seems like you are, I know you're on stage, and it's a smaller venue than perhaps you're used to, but you really draw people in when it's this type of a venue, don't you?
Well,
I mean, you could feel the audience.
Yeah, you're right at the audience. I mean, I come through the audience and onto the stage. But also this Rive Cathedral is very good because it doesn't have the orchestra pit. Mm-hmm. That makes a lot of distance, so the people are, so we're breaking the fourth wall, as we call it.
Absolutely.
So you're in complete touch with, I mean, you can touch them maybe if you want, but that sort of distance creates more animosity, I don't want to say. Intimacy
Yeah.
with them.
Which is what you want, especially in ballet, I would assume.
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, it's for me, it's horrible to have that kind of distance. That,
yeah.
no, that protocol that it should be polite. No, be in it. Come on, if you want to yell or no or boo or
let's not have the boo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But Dracula could get a boo or two early, but you'll save him at the end. Jody, you love Dracula as the ballet. It's been staged here in the Quad Cities a couple times. I mean, the audience really reacts.
The audience loves it, and we've added a pre-show. So it started out Halloween Hustle. Last year we did Transylvania Twist, and this year it is Frankenstein's Follies. And so it's reminiscent of the Rockettes. There's humor, there's scary parts, there's voodoos, there's dancing skeletons, there's tap dancers. It's like being in New York City.
Well, and there's also another part is that you also like to have not only the ballet, but a chance to meet the artists. And so you have Dinner with Dracula as well. I mean, that's kind of a neat thing. When you're talking about breaking down the barriers and breaking down the fourth wall, the Dinner with Dracula is kind of a cool event as well.
Yeah, we turned the lower level of the Spotlight Theater. It's a huge dining room, and we've turned that into Dracula's dining room, and he invites his guests to dine with him. He passes out flowers. He does little sneaky bites from time to time, and then he has a huge dinner and gets ready for his performance, and it's loads of fun. And it's our only fundraiser of the year. All of the money from the dinner goes to our education outreach programs. Our dinner is 100% paid for by sponsors. So when you buy a ticket to come to the dinner, which I think that you have, then all that money goes to our programming. So thank you, Jim.
You know, I've been promising you I go to the ballet someday, and this has to be the time because I'm looking for a great performance.
Oh, for
and of
sure.
course, I mean, what do you see? You come up to the Quad Cities, you could go anywhere, and you have been everywhere.
Yeah.
What is it about the Quad Cities? Why keep coming back here?
Well, the thing is, I've been, for example, with the Joffrey Ballet, you know, those big companies. But there's always something more familiar, you know, when you're at a smaller company, like everybody interacts with each other, you know, and in bigger companies, sometimes people, they don't even know each other. I mean, it's...
well, you got a bureaucracy, you got a bunch of people
For
that...
sure, no, so here, there are no categories, no, so everybody's the same, everybody gets to dance a lot, no, and apparently, well, people like each other, no? They have lunch together. No, I said, really? I mean, that's not how we do it.
Yeah.
Like,
well, let's be honest, like in the Joffrey and other places, it's a business, and here it is a business, but it's not so much a business.
And sure, I mean, and you come and people try to be nice, but still, any newcomer is not so welcome because it's always one less chance for you to dance when someone comes in. So
that's a good
it's
point.
hard. It's hard to make friends. No,
Yeah.
so I would say it took me a year to get some respect. For example, from the others, that I'm not taking your place. I mean, I'm just being myself and putting my own personality into this. But I'm not taking anybody's role. Everybody has to have their own role and make it their own, in a sense.
For those people who don't know you very well, they may just think that you're a dancer, but you're an incredible Renaissance man. You do dance. You're a choreographer. You're an artist. Tell me a little bit about. Yeah, exactly. Tell me a little bit about what you're doing right now.
Well, I've been sculpting for almost 20 years. And I started with music, but I was going to say is like dance actually involves all the arts in a sense. So sculpting, I mean, we're as dancers, we're sculptors, we're artists, we have to draw with lines, and with our whole body. And then we have to be musicians. We need to be able to listen and to interpret music. We are not just executioners. We have to be interpreters. So in that sense, you have to be an artist in many ways. It is being a dancer is not just someone that executes movement through something. No, well, you have to be aware of everything. So if you're not sensitive enough, well, you just become someone that is placed to repeat whatever is told. But no, you have to be a creative person. You have to create a role every time. And that's what is amazing, because it will never stop. You have to be investigating all the time, reading, you know,
Absorbing,
and absorbing,
Yeah.
and learning from everything.
When you come to like the Quad City Ballet, and do you see yourself as a mentor as well, as a teacher for the next generation of dance?
For sure, for sure. You know, it's one of the most lovely things to have is that you can pass on what you learn, because actually dance is a very short career, so you have to feed from each other's experience. And for me, that's the biggest goal, is that I don't want to die before I pass whatever I learned through the years. No, and you would think that, well, where I learned before. No, what I'm still learning, that's what I want to still be able to pass it on, because there's not a day that you teach, or even if you meet people with not such great condition, you know that you can help anybody in this business, because it's a beautiful career that it involves your whole body. No, it's not something just mental or intellectual. No, you have to be 100% there. No, body, mind, and spirit. No, otherwise it wouldn't be an art. No, it would be something cartoonish. Yeah. That with beautiful pictures and something that is not real. So belonging to a live form that you have to perform live whatsoever. No, this is not a career that you're supposed to copy paste and record this and then make a mix match from little parts. No, it's from beginning to end. People they have to have the real experience with you. No, and it's something that you have a 5-minute break and people change the channel and go have a bite. Right. No, here is something that the audience gets involved and they get to have an experience together with you. And everybody will have their own approach and their own interpretation around that, but it's important.
And Jody, tickets are on sale right now?
They certainly are. Just go to our website, balletquadcities.com. You can see why we love having him come and visit with us. I was just listening too. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is fabulous.
And of course, the holiday season isn't complete without the Nutcracker that's coming up as well. So say that.
It's not. The Nutcracker, December 8th and 9th. And the treat is that Domingo Rubio is Herr Drosselmeyer this year. So there's another chance to get to see him on stage in a different character. Total different character.
Yeah, well,
just as interesting, and we will see you in the audience, second row seats, I promise.
I'm not sure about the Nutcracker. You got me for Dracula. Jody Cook, Domingo Rubio, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Of course, you can check out Ballet Quad City's website for all the details. WQPT is also doing its part to support the military men and women in the cities who are serving our nation. We call it Embracing the Military. And Arsenal Island is getting ready for Halloween as well with the annual Trunk or Treat. It's coming up this Wednesday, October 17th, as cars filled with candy and prizes park at the Rock Island Arsenal Memorial Park. Kids are welcome to join the fun starting at 3:30 with an afternoon of games and trick-or-treating in a safe environment. It is open to military, families, retirees, and civilians as well. On the air, on the radio, on the web, and on your mobile device. Thanks for taking some time to join us as we talk about the issues on the cities.
Public affairs programming on WQPT is brought to you by the Singh Group at Merrill Lynch, serving the wealth management needs of clients in the region for over 25 years.